Empire State Building. You know, dropping steel walls down the elevator. Because they haven't started doing it yet. You know? And besides, the elevator shaft is closed. It's pretty hard to open the door and drop a steel wall. It's difficult to do that. So they're built in such a way as to diminish that. Right? And if you don't want any hijackers, here's what you do. You have one fucking airplane a month that leaves for Cuba. Thanks anybody that wants to go. And all the guys get on their suitcases, they go to Cuba. You don't want hijacking? Free trips to Cuba. Then they get to Cuba and Castro says, what do you want? Well, I want to stay in Cuba. What can you do? Can you operate a sawmill? No, I'm sorry, you can't stay. And they go back. But the idea is, what the hell you got all these guys stealing all these airplanes for? Besides, if they want to go to Cuba, they're not worth having around here. So you ship them out. Right? That's what I would do. Is it that bad? It costs less to ship all these people to Cuba than it costs than all the trouble of putting these agents in the airplane, all these detectives and checking everybody. See? Okay. Now that's the way you do it. It's easy to solve problems. If you lived in my house and you hated living here, let's assume you were my daughter. First of all, I hate living with you. Here's the keys and go live wherever you want. Because I wouldn't want anybody living here that hated my guts. That'd be terrible. They'd make me a hot cup of tea. Or in my tongue. And, you know, it'd be uncomfortable. They wipe their ass and push it on the wall. So why should I want anybody living there? I was saying before that if I operated a school in Hell's Kitchen, that's a poor section of town, I would have a blackboard near the shit house. You understand? And chalk. And I'd have on the wall be printed, fuck you, show it hard. You know, everything that the kids write on the wall be printed on the wall. And there'd be erasers and chalk. Because every time I come in there, I erase that goddamn one, you goddamn crazy kids. Give them chalk and a pencil, they're going to do it anyway. You understand that? So everybody goes around with false ideas and phony ideas. Because they get them from books, and they get them from movies, and they get all this bullshit, and they become confused. I mean sincerely confused, they're not bad people. Now the people in Washington are not a group of people that are conspirators that sit back and say, I'm going to fool the American people. No, it isn't like that. Many, many years ago, the first group in politics said, we're going to fool the American people. And they set it up, and the other guys are just fools. The first priest was a phony. He says, these chumps really think I'm the magic man. And he took strange things, they went like that, and they disappeared. And he said, boy, this guy's really a magic man. And he walked around like that. He said, I'm in touch with the one on high. And everybody followed him. All his life, they fed him and they gave him a guaranteed income. And once this guy was following the priest all the time, he says, I believe him. He says, that's terrific, son. Then when this guy died, he went on telling the story about the bullshit man. You understand? I was just telling you that all the firsts were phonies. All of them. Every goddamn religion is comprised of phony men. Now, how do I know that? How do I know that's true? Because a lot of men say that's not true. Here's how I know it's true. It says Moses cast a staff before the Pharaoh, a stick, and it became a snake. And if you get books, early Indian books, there are translations in the British Museum, you go to the public library, and it tells, long before Moses did that, how they took certain types of snakes, squeezed an area behind their neck, and they become rigid like a stick. Are you familiar with that? That was, oh shit, that was done for years. What Moses did was nothing new. That's how I knew he was a fucking magician. And he threw the stick on the wall and it became a snake. And then the king's Pharaoh's magicians did the same thing. I don't know if you've read the Bible. They threw their own staffs and they became snakes. But they weren't really staffs. They were snakes that were hypnotized. Or a region was pressed and they became rigid. Now, when Moses put his staff into the water and it turned red, they used to do this in the early books. They had a red dye in a hollow bamboo tube. They put it in the water turned red, and oh, see? And the Egyptians, the ones that you read about in school, they had these, the Sphinx that were built like this. Some of them were built like this. They looked like a lion's body. The head was hollow. And the sun would shine on the head all day and heat up the air in there. And the high priest, this is one of the claws, would go up like that and pivot here. And inside the body of this lion, all of these priests would stand on this lever. And the legs would go up. They were 40 feet long. Like that. And the people would go, and then, when the sun set, the hot air, a priest would pull a lever and a little gadget in the mouth would open. It looked like a stone washer, two of them, put here. And they go, and these people fall to the ground. Okay? Now, this is what they did in Egypt. How do you think they controlled all those damn fools? You'd have to have a policeman around every corner to control all those people. So they did a couple of tricks, and they said, if you fuck around, don't put your shoulder to the wheel, you're going to be punished by the all-seeing eye. That's how they control people, with God. Because the king never controlled, he didn't need any control. He had everything he wanted. He had a lot of gold, a lot of women. See? Remember the old kings? They farted around, screwed around, had big parties. But the moral code was for the schmuckery, the little guy. That had nothing.
Is that how they got those people to build all those pyramids?
Right.
That takes a lot of time.
Well, that's how they get you to work. Because they say, you don't eat if you don't work. They say it's right to work. But everybody wants to make enough money so they won't have to work. But they never give you enough money so you don't have to work. You ever think of that? But they say if you try hard enough, you can make it. You know how many people make it? Very few. Now, the only way you get a lot of money so you don't have to work is to get other people to work for you. And the idea is to tell them, get out there, Carl, get going, and put your shoulder to the wheel. I believe in you. And then when you come in, you walk in and you come back, and Carl's still working there. There's a lot of promise for you in our corporation in the future. You understand what I'm talking about? Or not? No, it's not clear? No. All right. That's what I mean. Now, I'm not corrupt. I think I'm really doing Carl a favor. And Carl thinks I'm doing him a favor. Then he's the average person, if he believes that. The other guy that has another factory, he says, can you get Carl to work for less? He says, no, Carl won't work for less. Let me tell you something. If Carl makes $150 a week in my factory, and I want him to work for less, I have a way of getting him to work for less. Now here's how I do it. I'm going to have him to work for $75 a week. In fact, $50 a week, without his knowing it. But if he says, Carl, will you work for $50? Carl says, no, never. Now I'm going to show you how I get him to work for $50 a week. Even Carl doesn't know about this. All right, here is the top view of Carl. This is his ears, and this is his belly, and that's his legs, and that's his shoes sticking out there. He's sitting down, looking down at Fresco's production belt here. There's all kinds of little boxes here that Carl has to select from those boxes little parts that go on the radio when he assembles it. Do you see what I mean? First I say, Carl, will you work at this over? He says, no, that's his arrow blade. Then I bend the table like that. And Carl says, gee, that's nice. You put every box within reach of my arm. I can reach for any box. Just going to go around like this one. Instead of reaching against him. Yeah. Then he says, that's very nice, Fresco, of you. Then I put in a radio that has selected music with a beat at a given time. You know what I'm talking about? Then, in the washroom, during the 15-minute break, I talk to some psychologists, and they say, Carl doesn't get enough sunshine during the day, or during the weekends. He goes to church. But I figure, if you put a sun lamp in the bathroom, take your shirt off, and the men stand in front of it and rotate, you get about an hour and a half extra work a day out of it. Did you know that? There's really? Less absent, yeah. So Douglas Anker going to put these sun lamps in there. And everybody said, gee, how nice they put the sun lamps in there for us. Now, do you understand what I'm talking about here? A time and motion man are the men that figure out how to lay out a plan so they can get more motion out of you in less time. That's what a time and motion man is. But these men are no good. They're not good people. A good engineer will look at Carl and say, look, this guy works 8 hours a day. It's very fatiguing on the eyes to put all those parts in. Let's see if we can ease his load and speed up production by easing his load. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Not put more upon you. There was a movie that they should bring back called Modern Times. Did anybody see it? Will you raise your hand? Well, let me say, who didn't see it? Will you raise your hand? Well, let me just tell you this. The movie that was made a long time ago, they don't like to bring back. Because it really shows Charlie Chaplin on a production line tightening bolts on the car as they went home. And when he went home, he went home. You understand? All right. Now, the boss was talking to an inventor who said, I think I can get more work out of the man. Why give him an hour for lunch? The boss said, well, how are they going to eat? He said, I got a new invention, watch it. So Charlie was tightening the bolts, and there was corn on the cob spinning on the machine. And he would eat it while he was tightening the bolts, you know? And then the blotter came blowing. The idea of the movie is a boss will do whatever the hell they can do to get away with it. Children used to work in the cotton mills from sun up to sundown. I'm talking about 8 and 9-year-olds. Did you know that? When the sun came up and when it set, they were working there. They were sweatshops. And it wasn't until men became saner and machines became cheaper that they put out the children and took in more machines than adults. People protested that. But don't think you live in a good world yet. Not yet. It's still growing and it's early. The world can be a much better place. You're not supposed to hate anybody for it. They just don't know anybody yet. Any other questions about that? Now, you asked me specific questions. I'm giving you specific answers. Anything else you want to know? All right, the Airline Pilots Association said that there's not more than 4 airports in the United States that are equipped to handle emergency landings. Did you know that? If a plane lands, catches on fire, very few airports are equipped to handle that. Did you know that? No, that isn't good, is it? All right. So there's a lot of things like that. Now, don't take my word for it. Just cross Dixie Highway next time you cross, and look at those railroad tracks there. The wood's rotting away. You go look at it. Don't take my word for it. All across America, the wood is rotting away and the spikes are loose. In most of America's railroads. Did you know that? Go look at it. Now, if they had a sign at a railroad station that said, it's cheaper to travel by train than anything else, but our spikes are not that good, and the tracks are rotting away, then I would say it'd be terrific. All I have to do is tell you what the score is, but they don't. Does that make sense to you? All right. So you're going to have to do some reading on your own. You take a book list, and those books will tell you where to get this kind of information in your library. Here, just there a minute. I'll give you a couple of those, and if you want to know where to get it, that's where you get it.
Do you think that if people grow to it's easier to die?
It's easier to die?
You know, like if you're old, it'd be harder to die if you're young and
it's harder to die when you're older. Sure, much more. You know why? Because you're losing more. Young people are pretty dumb. Like when I was young, I knew 15 things. Now I know 2,015 things. So to let go of life is much more valuable. Do you consider yourself better than you were 10 years ago? Do you consider yourself smarter than you were 10 years ago? Oh, what makes you think 10 years from now you're not going to look back and say, ooh, that jerk? You understand what I'm getting at? So the older you become, assuming you don't sit on your ass looking out the window, assuming you travel and learn things, you're going to be smarter as you get older. You're going to be faster and better, unless you're injured in some way. You know what I mean? But if you're not injured, you're going to love life more. And I can understand that, because you know more. Because the smarter you become, the more sensitive you are about more things. The younger you are, the dumber you are. You know, it was George Bernard Shaw that said, too bad that youth is wasted on the young. And he really meant that. Well, do you have any other questions about that?
I was just wondering, you know, why people I went to Miami Beach today this morning.
Why they got what?
You know, I went to Miami Beach today and everyone was really old, you know, and I was thinking I could find everything.
You mean they weren't old, you mean they were moving differently. You mean they move like that? Is that what you mean by old?
Well,
what do you mean?
Just the way their mind works.
You mean their ideas were obsolete?
Well, like
they belonged in the past?
Just I was watching, it was like about 500 people waiting for a bus, and one lady put out her hand for the bus, like the bus wasn't going to stop if she didn't put out her hand.
Yeah.
It was like...
You mean she was naive?
Yeah, it was like, I was wondering why people get, I would think through life you get better, you know what I'm saying?
That's because we don't make them better.
No,
we could make them better.
You miss the bus a lot of times because it goes by you.
Unless you flag it down.
You got to flag up, jump up and down sometimes. You get to learn that after a while.
He stands in front of the bus. Okay. Any other questions?
So you do
anything else? Any other comments you want to make? Shall we go for coffee? Did you see breaks?